one of these things that makes you realize how difficult our challenge is because what I think the failure is here was really a failure of the movement, right? Trump wins. I mean, a lot of people didn't expect him to win. Certainly, even people on his own campaign staff didn't expect him to win. And then what happened, I think, is that the only people available to staff the administration, or I shouldn't say the only, but a disproportionate share of the people willing to staff the administration were the people who would have staffed it in like the Jeb Bush administration, right? And so, like, yeah, you had some senior hires, people like Stephen Miller, Steve Bannon, like people who I think really made a big difference in policy, but there were not enough institutions and enough people to staff an administration that were actually consistent with Trump's worldview. And that was a big problem. And I think a big failure of the conservative movement writ large. Um, I mean, I think the only answer is to do the difficult work of actually institution building in our country, right? This is a thing that we don't do on the right. The right tries to win elections. The left tries to build institutions. So I saw a story probably, I don't know, a month after Biden was sworn in, and what the story said was basically that there was this entire administration in waiting. There was like this think tank or lobbying firm or some DC firm that was basically just wargaming the Biden administration. It had a lot of the people, higher level, but also mid-level people that would go in and work in the Biden administration. Like we need to be building something like that, right? And I actually know a couple of my friends who are working on that very project because we sort of looked at the last 5 years and we're like, what? Why is it that there were so few people willing to staff this administration, given the electoral mandate that Trump had just won? Isn't this just a terrible reflection on the entire political system of political conservatism? And so, yeah, I mean, I think we got to do the hard work of institution building. And again, I've got friends who are working on this very problem right now, such that if there is a Trump administration round two or a DeSantis or a Hawley administration, that we actually have the bureaucracy in place so that that person can govern effectively and not be constantly undercut, right? I mean, like, remember that crazy guy who wrote that New York Times article and he was positioned as like a high level staff, right? I forget the exact name, but it was like the resistance inside the Trump administration was the name of it. Can you imagine any other administration in American history where actual officials of the administration would have been leaking stories to the New York Times at that level, trying to undercut the people who had actually hired him? Like it's just crazy. Like even if you disagree with Trump's policies, like he won, right? He hired you to do a job. The American people hired him to do a job. You cannot undercut the chief executive by leaking stories to the New York Times about how you're undercutting. It's